Chapter 3. Mornings After. Something buzzed. Jax opened his eyes, then clamped them closed as the dim light felt like ice picks being jabbed into his brain. More slowly the second time, he opened them to see an unfamiliar bedroom. Trying to not jostle the bed too much, he looked around, trying to put the pieces of the previous night together. He had been successful in his mission to get drunk and make a new friend. From the size of the room, he was in the below, which wasn't surprising. Anyone he met at the Angry Spacer was likely a local, and not from the upper levels. He finally got to the other side of the bed, blonde, close-cropped hair facing away from him, strong mahogany shoulders. The thing that buzzed again. "I think that's your phone," his host said, rolling over. He smiled. "Good morning." Jack's ears flushed bright red. "Sorry." He slowly slid out from under the thin sheets, looking around the floor for his clothes. "And yeah, good morning," he smiled. His host slid out of bed and patted at the small kitchenette in the corner. "Coffee?" he asked over his shoulder. Jax watched him for a few heartbeats until his phone, wherever it was, buzzed again. He finally found his pants, half under the bed. He pulled his G-phone out of a pocket and looked at the screen. "You're late. Make it a run of shame. Love, Naomi." "Damn it," he hissed, then shot a glance over to the kitchen. "Sorry, gonna have to rain check on the coffee." He drew out the last breath, drawing a blank on his host's name. "Tony," the other man smiled. "Sorry, I suck with names," Jax apologized, slipping his T-shirt on. "I don't know that we exchanged them last night," Tony admitted, taking a sip of his coffee. He held up a disposable cup. "For the road?" His brown eyes twinkled at his guest's obvious discomfort. Jax got his shoes on and walked over. Taking the cup, he nodded. "Thanks. I gotta run, but let's catch up when I get back." Tony grinned. "I'd like that. A proper date, maybe?" He walked Jax to the door. As the hatch slid open, he held out his own G-phone, swiping on the screen. Jax's beeped, notifying him of an incoming data stream. "Don't be a stranger." As the hatch to Tony's quarters closed, Jax looked at the phone, filing the other man's contact details for later. Another message appeared. "Where are you?" He tapped the message, then put the phone to his ear. "I'll be right there." He took a sip of the coffee Tony had given him. Pretty good stuff for someone living down below. "You need to set an alarm before you go out sleeping around," Naomi scolded. "Okay, Mom, relax. I'm only a few levels away. I'll be there in a minute." He closed the channel, putting the phone in his back pocket. The door to the Caruso family mechanical bay slid out of the way, allowing Jax into the bay. The Osprey was sitting in her normal place, facing out toward the large outer doors. Rudy and Naomi were waiting near the cobbled-together living room space, next to the small office in the corner. He grinned as he set his coffee cup down on an end table. "She's already here, huh?" Rudy made his nodding gesture, a small metal hand and a fist, bobbing up and down. Naomi looked at the cup. "Your hookup runs a coffee shop?" Jax tutted. "My hookup runs a none of your business." He took another sip. "Though that would make sense. This is a damn good cup of coffee." He headed for the Osprey's boarding ramp. As he reached the embarkation space, he had to stop to climb over a mountain of suitcases. He looked down. Naomi and Rudy had followed him. "What the hell?" "It's just her and Jeffrey, right? She didn't bring the rest of her staff?" Naomi stared at him. "Just her and Jeffrey." Jax looked up toward the opening in the deck, where the spiral staircase passed through. "Hey, Baxter, can you help with this?" He rubbed his face as the mild hangover he woke up with reasserted itself. From the cargo deck above, "Kill people and haul luggage. I have the best existence." Jax rubbed his face, then climbed over the luggage to take the stairs up to the common deck. Now departing. "Jackson, you're late," Governor Singh said from the sofa in the common area. She and Geoffrey were sitting together, an assortment of tablets laid out in front of them. When she saw him, she grinned. "Busy night last night?" "Morning, Auntie. Geoffrey," Jack said as he passed the seating area, heading for the only restroom on the ship, in the forwardmost section of the common deck. "Just need to splash some water on my face and we'll get going." As the door to the ship's head closed, he heard his adopted aunt say, "I hope you used protection." He was glad she couldn't see his face. When Jax emerged from the head, Baxter was coming up the stairs with more suitcases than Jax could ever hope to carry, balanced and clutched. The bot turned to Jax. "Where are these going?" Jax opened his mouth, but Governor Singh beat him to the punch. "My bags go in Jackson's room. Geoffrey's can go in one of the other rooms." What now?" Jax asked. He looked at Naomi, who was trying to hide her grin. She turned around before he could address her. "My room is, well, my room. Not anymore?" The ancient Indian woman grinned. "I'm old. I can't sleep on one of those narrow, uncomfortable cots in your guest rooms." "They're called berths," Jax corrected, not knowing what else to say. "I don't care." She turned to Baxter. "You heard me, big butt." Baxter turned his swishing red optical sensor to Jax, then turned and went down the corridor to the aft of the ship, where the living quarters were. Jax looked at the ceiling, taking a deep breath. "Okay, I guess." "Don't forget, my quarters are mine now," Naomi interrupted. She pointed to Geoffrey. "You two can share the other guest berth." Jax looked at the younger man, who just shrugged and said, "Fair warning, I snore." Jax groaned and followed Baxter. "I'll get my things." Then he added, "Rudy, get us ready to go." The navigation droid, who had kept to the corner of the room out of sight, bounced on his roller ball, then headed for the open center of the spiral stairwell connecting the decks of the ship. He shot up to the bridge without a sound. Baxter needed 2 trips to haul all the luggage from the small embarkation room at the bottom of the Osprey and get it sorted into the various berths. Jax had moved some clothes and personal items into the only remaining guest berth, now that Naomi had laid claim to one of them, and replaced the double bunk bed setup with a more comfortable, larger bed. As Jax dropped into the pilot seat, he consulted his console. "We good?" He turned his head slightly to look at Rudy, secured to his navigation console. "Yup, Space Control cleared us for immediate departure," the droid replied. Jax tapped the intercom. "We're cleared for departure. Make sure you're seated." Down in the common area, Governor Singh and Geoffrey were back in the lounge area, going over tablets spread over the coffee table and between them on the sofa. Naomi was sitting in the large chair, watching them. She asked, "So, what's all this?" She pointed to the tablets. "Stuff for your meeting or whatever?" The governor looked up. "Oh, no. This is just station work we're trying to get ahead of." She smiled. "No matter what, we always have a backlog." She waved to the assorted devices. "Work never stops." Naomi's eyes bulged. "Running for governor is off my list now. That's a lot of paperwork. You're only going to be gone a week." The rumble of the reactor powering up reverberated through the common deck. Geoffrey clucked. "You've no idea. This is just the stuff I didn't trust the rest of the staff to manage on their own in our absence." The ship lurched as it lifted off the deck. The sound of the landing gear retracting echoed. Geoffrey looked around. "Is that normal? Should the ship make those kinds of noises?" From the overhead speaker, Skip replied, "Don't worry. That's just the landing gear retracting. You're perfectly safe inside me." Naomi pursed her lips, eyebrows arched. She looked up at the ceiling. "That's probably not the way you should say that." "Oh, sorry," the ship's SI replied, but offered nothing further. Governor Singh rested a hand on Geoffrey's knee. "Geoffrey doesn't leave the station." Naomi nodded. "Don't like space travel?" "It's not my favorite thing, no," the young man admitted. As the ship shifted again, something downstairs in the cargo deck groaned. Geoffrey's face paled. Lunch. The door to the ship's head opened. Geoffrey stumbled out. From the small dining table, Jax said, "I hope you didn't miss." When Jeffrey made a face, Jax continued, "Lunch is ready." Naomi helped Governor Singh up from the couch and walked her over to the table. The older woman took a seat as Jax placed a specially designed magnet bowl on the table. She inhaled. "Chili?" Jax shrugged as Jeffrey and Naomi sat down. "We've got a few days for you to curry up the kitchen. I figured I'd treat." He took his own bowl and stood leaning against the countertop. He nodded to his adopted aunt. "What can you tell us about the summit?" The governor finished chewing, then said, "The Emperor likes to give lip service to the regional governors by occasionally hosting these summits." She took another bite of her lunch, then continued, "They're really just an opportunity for the Emperor to show off how big his dick is." Jeffrey coughed, setting a spoon down. The governor continued, "He started holding them after he assumed power. They were his way to show the galaxy that his rule was benevolent, that he cared what the colony and station governors thought, crap like that." She grunted. "Then, once he solidified his hold, he was free to drop the pretense." "Sounds shitty," Naomi offered. Governor Singh nodded. "It is," she shrugged. "Such is life. If nothing else, it's a chance to visit New Terra, all expenses paid." She took a bite. "I am curious why, after all this time, he's decided to hold his summit." Jax perked up. "So I can submit an invoice for this trip?" The look the elderly Indian woman gave him was enough to make him look at the deck and take a bite of his chili. He added, "Yeah, it is a bit troubling. Him holding a summit all of a sudden." He took a drink, then asked, "Think he's up to something hinky?" "He's always thinking of something hinky," Governor Singh replied. Naomi rubbed her chin. "Like you said, free trip to New Terra." Jax looked at her. "I kind of assumed you wouldn't be that keen to go to New Terra." Naomi tilted her head. "I probably wouldn't go there on my own." She looked at Jax. "But I have some business I can do while we're there." Jax raised an eyebrow but let the topic drop at a look from his new business partner. "Anyone need seconds?" Jeffrey raised a hand, then puffed his cheeks out and lowered it, waving Jax off. Naomi asked, "So, he expects the independent station governors to attend, but have no voice or role in the thing?" She thought for a moment. "For that matter, why are there independent stations?" Jax groaned. "You had to ask." He opened the refrigerator and grabbed a beer. The governor clucked. "Never mind him." She took a bite of chili, then continued. "After the war, the remnants of the Indies wrung a few concessions from soon-to-be Emperor Stenson. One was the independent stations and colonies." She looked up at the ceiling, then said, "As a show of good faith, those not in favor of unification could have a place. We still, for the most part, are subject to the laws of the Empire, but are more—" She tapped one manicured fingernail on the table. "Protectorates, I suppose?" Naomi opened her mouth, but was interrupted by the ship lurching to the right, and something somewhere making a sound like metal tearing. The lights flickered, then went out a split second before the artificial gravity died. "Skip!" Jax shouted as he grabbed the edge of the cupboard he was standing next to. The ceiling speaker crackled. "Jackson?" the governor asked, clutching the table, her legs moving up over her head. "I'm gonna hurl," Jeffrey warned. Naomi pushed off away from him. "Keep it together, Jeffrey." The emergency lighting went on, bathing everyone and everything in diffuse red light. "Captain?" Jax kicked off toward the staircase. "Skip, what's going on?" The speaker in the ceiling crackled again, then Skip answered. "I'm trying to run a diagnostic. It is not going well. What I can tell you is that something went wrong with the wormhole generator." "Oh, God," Jeffrey moaned. "Are you kidding me?" Jax pulled himself into a seat at the flight console. It was entirely dark. "Skip, you said the issue was the wormhole generator. What's up with main power?" "I don't know. Baxter is down there looking," the ship's SI replied. "But I am not an engineering droid," Baxter added over the channel. Rudy, still secured in his console, said, I've been able to get a fix on our position. We weren't in wormhole long enough to be anywhere close to New Terra, the nav droid said. We're in deep space. The nearest star looks like it's at least 15 light-years away. According to the star charts, the system is uninhabited. Naomi drifted up to the bridge. I got your aunt and Jeffrey situated. She looked around. What's up? We're in deep space. The nearest system we can't reach is uninhabited, Jax offered, then turned. Hey, maybe your blue juju can help figure this out. Skip is running a diagnostic and Baxter is in engineering. He trailed off and shrugged. And until we get main power back online, and ideally figure out what the hell is wrong, we're dead in space. Naomi nodded. I'll go down to engineering, see if the reactor control system has anything to say. She turned and pushed off back down the spiral staircase. Moments later, Jax, come down here. Naomi shouted from the base of the staircase on the cargo and engineering deck. Be right there, Jax replied. As he passed through the common deck, his aunt asked, Jackson, what's going on? She and Jeffrey were seated on the sofa, strapped in with safety belts that were normally tucked under the cushions out of sight. He paused long enough to say, We're working on it. He pulled himself down to the next level, where Naomi was waiting. Do you know what an alluvial damper is? She asked as he followed her through the cargo hold, past the small med bay into the engineering compartment. Baxter was standing near the reactor control panel, his feet magnetized. He moved to the side when Jax and Naomi entered. Oh, good. Unless you need me to break this, I don't really know what else I can do here. Jax looked around the engineering space. He pointed to something. That it? Naomi followed his finger, shaking her head. It wasn't a pop quiz, and no, that's not it. Baxter, now standing near the hatch, said, I didn't do it.